Greetings, folks. Dr. Graves at the office today, doing a little research and cooking. This is just a part two of the bulletproof coffee video I just made. So just an update. So I've been working on this, drinking this down, been great, feeling good. And just a couple things I want to talk about, a little more technical, into the differences between, any other types of cups of coffee, things you might add to it, and bulletproof coffee, as it's been coined to be called. And I've been skeptical actually as to why would we need to blend coffee with butter to get the benefits that's any different from putting, say, cream in your coffee or MCT powder or all these other ways of doing it, perhaps a little more conveniently. And I won't go into all the benefits of a high-fat, low-carb diet and benefits of coconut oil, medium chain triglycerides, and the supplementing of ketones. But basically, though, with coffee, the difference between coffee actually being neutral or a healthy beverage and it being problematic has to do with, I think, two main factors. Number one, the health of the individual drinking it, and secondly, the quality of the coffee and how it's prepared and what's added to it. So with bulletproof coffee, in a nutshell, it is high quality, contaminant free coffee that has been prepared in a way to minimize toxic load with the benefits of antioxidants, and there's actually chemicals in there that can affect your satiety and how your pleasure centers in the brain feel satisfied and reduce hunger and cravings. The addition of fat is something that adds to that mechanism if done right. And so with bulletproof coffee, the developer of that was adamant about the quality of the coffee, using very high quality butter or clarified butter or ghee as it's called, and also a specific extract from coconut oil called MCT, and specifically the C8 concentrated form. So it's just loading it with very satisfying fats that also feed the energy systems in the body. They also signal the brain to feel quite satisfied, and even more than that, it improves mental focus and clarity. And again, as I mentioned, the coffee quality is important. And doing a little research, and I'll be writing about this soon, it brought up relevance to a blog article that I wrote recently in terms of why one of the reasons that grains can be harmful to the body is that they're the type of food that can be very high in a specific toxin from mold. We call these mycotoxins, and it really depends on how they're stored, how they're processed, and how they're delivered to the customer in terms of food. So that's secondary to the fact, of course, that grains are full of starch and therefore converted to sugar in the body, and all those health problems associated with it. But again, the toxins that are in foods are always our dilemma. We need food for nutrition, but some foods carry some byproducts and have toxins in them, and so we want to minimize that. So unfortunately, some coffee is prone to developing these mycotoxins as well. And they're not friendly substances, cancer causing. They can be harmful to the liver and kidneys and cause brain fog. Can also drive insulin resistance and more hunger cravings, and therefore weight gain. Anyway, but studies, I was looking at some recent studies, and as many as more than half of green coffee beans tested, for instance, had a specific mycotoxin called ochratoxin A, and that's a nasty bugger. We want to minimize that. Now, roasting did not reduce that very much at all, and only just a small fraction was reduced through roasting. So, and then also when it's brewed, the study found that a lot of, in fact, it says 18 brewed coffee samples out of a total of 40 were found to have very significant levels of this toxin in them. Another just side note, different than mycotoxins is the fact that some foods, depending on how they're stored and how they sit on a shelf, can have something called biogenic amines. These are chemicals that mimic or are identical to our own natural body chemicals, such as hormones and neuro chemicals that stimulate the brain and regulate function in the body. So biogenic amines include a lot of adrenal hormones, things called histamine, and then other things that occur in foods that's essentially spoiled. So again, these chemicals can create all sorts of side effects from coffee if it's not produced and stored properly for it to have those high levels. It was an interesting note here on one study. Basically, how a coffee is brewed can dictate how many biogenic amines are in there. Espresso and pressed coffee seems to be the best in a number of ways by its ability to reduce some of those things. Anyway, so that's it for now. I hope you come on by and try bulletproof coffee. We are making it here. Watch the video on how I prepared it just a little bit ago, and we'll be checking in more on this whole topic.